not from Austin. My wife and I sold our home in Cincinnati. We're full-time RV looking. RV living. She's looking for work, so I just wanted to meet nonprofit folks while I was here.
Okay.
Now, maybe the next 10 days, maybe we'll be here full-time.
Okay.
Not sure, but most recently I was development director at Cincinnati Zoo.
Okay.
So I've worn different hats. I've never actually been in the technology too much, but always did things. So
very good.
Just all interesting.
Cool.
Got to ride my bike here. It's like the best biking city ever.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Just stay away from the pedicabs. They're mean.
Oh, I'm sure they're everywhere.
I was going to say the scooters.
The scooters too. Pedicabbers are.
They're rough.
That's been the biggest surprise of all, the bikes.
The bikes? Huh. Miss?
Oh, not you.
Either?
Go ahead. Okay, I'm Dale Thompson, and I am an accounting person who specializes in nonprofits with QuickBooks.
Okay.
So, and right now my major client is Community Tech Network. It used to be Community Technology Network.
Okay.
And close to my heart because I used to work for Austin Freenet. And they do computer labs around the city in low-income neighborhoods, and these people train in computer labs in low-income neighborhoods. So,
great.
That's about it.
Sounds great. Thank you for coming. And we spoke a minute ago, but you want to share?
Yes. My name is Ellen Murray, and I've recently come back to Texas. I've been living abroad the last 9 years in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, and then in Asia and Japan, teaching English. But before I went out to see the world, I lived for 15 years in Corpus Christi, Texas, which is where I was born. First got to know Carolyn, and I was the executive director of an Asian Cultures Museum, and I worked for an extraordinary nonprofit called Mission of Mercy, and I was development officer. So I've been very active in I was very active for the last 5 years. 6 years I was in Corpus.
Okay.
I've come back to Austin, and I'm currently teaching English to a bunch of South Korean Fulbright scholars.
Okay.
But the market is a little uncertain, and so at this point in my life, I really want to do something that's meaningful and valuable.
Okay, great.
And make a difference, and so I'd like to go back into fundraising.
Great.
And I need to get on top of the technology. I'm good at schmoozing and making the ask, but I need to get better in the technology.
No, you can get people to do that for you.
Thank you for that phrase.
You don't need to learn that stuff. Just tell other people to do that
I
stuff.
can definitely make the ask and sell, but I've got to get on top of it.
See, now to me, that's the harder thing. Not hiding. I don't mean to disparage it, but well, we lost it. That's awesome. So definitely to me, the art part of fundraising is in the asking and the schmoozing, as you say. I know there's much more to it than that, but the science part is where the technology comes in and the tracking. I'm going to pull this up one more time, or not. So Monica Williams is my name. I started something called Giving City Austin. And the reason why it came as a technology base is because it's online. About 2007, I was working for the Austin Bar Association as communications director. Young lawyers are very ambitious in their community engagement. When you work at oh, it's all right. I'll figure it out. I just can't figure it out and talk at the same time. I'll spray my phone when you're done.
This is why we
I am.
capital fact.
You caught on, huh? So when I was at the bar, young lawyers, if you work at a large firm, your firm takes care of that for you. But if you're an independent person, you have to struggle to figure out, how do I get more involved? How do I serve on a board? How do I get on a committee? How do I fundraise for the causes that I care about? And so they came to me as communications director because the reality of associations is that the members don't do everything. The staff does it, right? So I started blogging about it on WordPress. And as I started blogging about it, I met up with the reporter at the Statesman at the time named Andrea Ball, who used to cover the philanthropy section, right? So Andrea had been doing it for a long time. She was getting kind of burned out. I went to ask her, hold on, I want my phone. I'm just kidding. I went to ask her, do you think there's enough about the philanthropic sector for someone to write about? And she said, oh my God, absolutely, there's so much to write about. So I started blogging about it, and then I happened to have a business partner who's an art director. And we, together, I'll show you some old ones, created this thing called Giving City Austin. And the idea was to create a magazine, initially in print with an online presence, of course, that would kind of be this guide to doing good in Austin, like a business journal for the philanthropic sector. And we looked around to see if there was something that we could copy, and there wasn't. So we kept looking and discovered that we could create something online that was downloadable, and this is what I'm trying to find for you right now. I don't really navigate it on the phone very much. We started blogging, we made these PDF downloadable magazines. We did about 3 of them. They were getting about 300 people each downloading them. I have no idea who these people were. 2007, I created a presence on Facebook for Giving City, a Twitter account. You know, this is at the time, I don't know how many of you guys remember this. I knew just about everyone that I was communicating with on social media, in person, in real life. So this was, you know, the dawn of all this stuff. And we started doing it regularly with our own money and our own time. And then we decided that because we both had children, full-time jobs, and now freelance clients, Giving City was being created between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. most times. And so we decided to stop. So on the blog, I wrote something along the lines of, okay, folks, this has been really fun. I'm tired. We're not doing it anymore. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to hire us to make a magazine, this is what we're doing. That got the attention of the Austin Community Foundation. I reached out, got heard from, at the time, do you guys know Austin Community Foundation and what a community foundation does? ACF's president reached out to me and said, we really like Giving City. Who are you? What is this thing? And can you keep doing it? And so at the time, Austin Community Foundation did not have a communications director in 35 years, which is amazing. So they hired me to be their first communications director and financed Giving City. And so I kept doing it for them for 2 or 3 years. And then they went through some changes. Giving City's kind of spun off. There's been a lot of times when Giving City should have stopped, very much. And I haven't been able to, for a couple of reasons. One is because people rely on it. There's a sense of entitlement when you create something for a long time, especially online that's free, that when you start not having it, people get upset. And that includes everything from individuals who rely on it for lists. It includes businesses who need someplace to write about what they're doing and get that marketing value, and definitely includes nonprofits who have an innate sense of entitlement that everything should be free to them at all times. In that time with Giving City, I have been a nonprofit, probably most of the time, but really mostly as a fiscal sponsorship. I was a fiscal sponsorship of TANO. I was a fiscal sponsorship of the, definitely the Austin Community Foundation, of the Austin Art Alliance, or whoever does that, and then also of Capital of Texas Media Foundation. So I had lots of business models, but in the end, it's still basically the online Giving City Austin. So here's the homepage. You can see this is our top feature. We're writing about boards a lot. I have some Google ads that I put on there. These are some of the stories. The stories that I get to tell are really great because nobody else is telling them. So a lot of times people will send, nonprofits send me press releases all the time about what's going on with them that they send out to all the other media outlets. And other media outlets are dying and they do not have room to cover this stuff. So a lot of times I'm the only one at least who can pick up the story, or at least I pick it up faster than other people. Because I've been doing it for 10 or 12 years and I have a lot of contacts in the nonprofit sector, I often don't work from press releases. I'm an old-fashioned beat reporter at this point because I go out to events or I meet somebody here, I talk and they say, a lot of gossip is how I get my news. This person's going to get fired, blah, blah, blah. Or I hear about collaborations. I attend a lot of events. I hear about interesting things. So I will say like this one, donation, this child is actually a 9-year-old drag queen who gave to Out Youth, and Out Youth realized we didn't even know there were drag queens this young, and so they're creating more programming around younger people because of this child's donation. That one came to us because we followed Out Youth on Facebook. They did not send a press release. A lot of nonprofits are really bad about communications. And I say that as a communications director of the Austin Opera Creative Action and the Austin Community Foundation. So they're just not good at it. So this is why a lot of my work in working with nonprofits is not just telling their story, but working with sometimes a development director, or an intern, or someone who's one of those volunteers you get through the government. What are those people called?
Oh, like Vista.
Vista. The Vista young people whose email comes to me and says, you know, vista@creativeaction.org. I'm like, oh my God, please don't send me stuff. So a lot of times I have to teach a lot of nonprofits how to do communications and how to be responsive to the media. This one came because I saw it. This is from a Dell program, the Dell Medical School. I read their blog. And so they collaborated to create this mobile unit that drives around and helps provide health care for people where they live. This is a regular thing I do. MLK volunteering, school supply drive in July. In November, it's how to volunteer at Thanksgiving. Around Christmas, it's how to adopt a family. Around Earth Day, there's tons of things. Those 5 or 6 seasonal things are among the highest traffic things I get. So most people, if you Google, how do I volunteer at MLK? How do I adopt a family at Thanksgiving? You know, all these things. Giving City is pretty far up there, to the point where other websites locally link to mine. There was a time this past year when Do 512 actually completely lifted, do you not know how the internet works? Completely lifted and placed on their site and said, thanks to Monica Williams of Giving City. And I called them and I said, hey, I did not give permission for you to do this. This is how, traffic is how we pay for this stuff, and you can't, and she apologized. But it was one of those ignorant, like, do you not know how the internet works? We don't lift and then, you know, Do 512 is a much bigger site than mine, so I actually saw a huge drop in traffic because people were finding it on Do 512 as opposed to finding it on Giving City. Lawsuits will ensue. This is something, you know, I get a lot of posts from people, from friends, hey, we opened up our awards. They named their new leader. I actually get the call. If you ever see an exclusive about nonprofits on The Statesman, for example, they call a lot of us who do this stuff and tell us, please don't, if you've heard about it, please embargo it, right? So I embargoed it, but this was actually posted the day before The Statesman got it, because they called me. You know, this is all just these kind of stories that people ask me to do. Most of them come from my relationships with development directors or communications directors calling me or texting me or Facebook messaging me or seeing me somewhere. Because Giving City has become this you know, source for nonprofit news here in Austin, with the focus on donor education, I've been able to, and other media outlets are doing it less, I've been able to create some relationships and some sharing of my content with other media outlets. So for example, for 4 years, I have gone every other Monday on Fox 7's Good Day Austin and done a live 3-minute segment talking about volunteering opportunities in the city. So I had my segment this past Monday, and I think I went and talked about board service.
You did, I saw it.
Yeah, and then I think I've got them scheduled for, you know, the next couple of weeks. Sometimes I get bumped if there's a flood or a fire or somebody gets shot, but most of the time it's me going on every other Monday. In addition to that, for the past 2 years, I've had a Sunday column in The Statesman. So every Sunday there's a, in the Metro section of the print and usually online on Saturdays, I get to write 500 words about whatever's going on in the nonprofit community. So a lot of the work is that today was my deadline, Thursday at 4, and so that takes me about 8 to 10 hours to do that story. And again, each of these audiences is different. With The Statesman, I find that readers have no idea how nonprofits work and no idea what some of the, you know, terminology is. So I keep it very open and general and very educational. I write it like more like magazine news rather than straight journalism because I only have 500 words, so they have to just believe me. I can't prove everything. You have to believe me when I tell you that there's a lot of nonprofits in town. I can't put a link on there, it's print. With the Fox 7, I get 3 minutes, and often I'm walking onto the set and sitting next to Dave, and Dave says, what are we talking about? And the guy's going, I said, we're talking about this today. Okay, what should I ask you? This. Okay, 1. Hi, we're here with Monica Williams. So it happens just like that. So I really have to go on. It's hard to be like super energetic because I'm usually not. I'm super crabby in the morning. So that's a lot of fun, but it takes a lot out of me, and I'm trying to get out of it. But those outlets always bring more traffic to Giving City. So at the, while I'm on screen, they say givingcityaustin.com. Make sure Dave closes with, for more information, go to givingcityaustin.com. So it's been really great. Same for Statesman. People see stories there that they wouldn't otherwise see. We have a community calendar that I neglect because there's so much going on. We have columns that are from the experts, not should we build the wall. These ads get kind of annoying, but I've doubled my revenue from ads, so I kind of, sorry. And then we have, different kind of columns and sections. We also do, these are old posts, some of them. Of course, they stack up. Here's something about us. We also have advertisers and sponsors. So here's a new technology company called NetSquared. They've been here in Austin about almost a year, but NetSquared is an online platform for managing your board. So often technology companies contact me and say, hey, we'd love to advertise on your site and things like that. A lot of them are, if they aren't a Blackbaud, so Blackbaud doesn't have a lot of how can we advertise on your site. They usually sponsor things and sponsor events or underwrite something. There are a lot of technology companies aren't used to having an ad space on a maybe like philanthropy.com or something like that, but definitely not locally. So it tends to be the new emerging technologies that come to me and are really excited and want to drop a lot of money on Giving City. So we work it out. Nonprofit, NetSquared is running a contest with me. So if you spread the word, but Next Mission just launched last night. And the idea is that if you apply, you will be selected to win a 3-year license to use NetSquared for free. They're just trying to get a lot of nonprofits to adapt this technology. It's really interesting to me because in the nonprofits that I talk to, absolutely no one in Austin uses this or even thinks something like this exists. So most of us are using Dropbox or Google to house all our bylaws and things. So when you have a new board member, you just say, go download these things and read them. NetSquared kind of creates a library for them and a track. So one of the things he said is if you have an agenda or minutes from the past meeting, you can see which board members have actually opened it and looked at them before that board meeting. It kind of drives accountability and keeps things moving more smoothly. So nonprofits are really responding to this.
They, by the way, are going to speak to us next month.
Okay, good.
So
Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jeff has been really great. We're doing a lot with them. Another thing that I am doing right now, there's a group of nonprofit consultants. And I have coffee with a couple of them once in a while. And so a woman named Julia said, so many of us aren't appropriate for this certain role. You want me to be a grant writer, but I'm really about strategic planning. So we want to refer each other. So we created this PDF print document. I said, well, nobody does print document anymore. Why don't you put it online somewhere? Well, they don't have an organization. Nobody knows how to do it. So they let me put it online. And so this has turned out to be, of course, one of the biggest traffic drivers to my site. And basically what it is this, this is a WordPress-based thing, so I just kind of coded it so that when you click on grant writing, you go to all the consultants who do grant writing. And since it's been up, I've heard a lot of them say they've gotten clients from it, which is really great. So here's one, Aging is Cool. Here's another one, Breakwater Light Consulting. They're in alphabetical order. Kathleen Burnside, a little bit about her and her recent clients, Corcoran and Company. So the reason I think that, I've been doing Giving City for a very long time, and I'm actually trying to unload it on someone else. That's a terrible way to say it. People think it's your baby, but at some point even your baby goes to college and you're like, don't come back. Don't move back in. Like, I'm ready to move on. I have people.
Soon to be empty nester.
Yeah, I'm a hopefully empty nester soon. But one of the things that I created the site myself and built it on WordPress. I've had to learn WordPress and analytics and AdSense and all this other junk that I had no intention of ever learning or ever want to learn. And my brain's pretty locked up at this point. So the newest thing that I'm trying to do, it was driven by the consultants. They said, we would love to be able to update these things ourselves because quite frankly, Monica, you're a little bit of a bottleneck. I'm too slow. We would also love to be able to pay you to do it because we feel bad that you're spending 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. doing this. And we have no problem paying you $35 to be listed because we make our money from this listing. And so I've been investigating WP Forms, which I have installed, and then tying it to PayPal and having someone have to log in, become a member, and go through all that stuff. I also talked to a lot of PR companies that I work with and asked them, one of the resentments I've had in the past 12 years was that a nonprofit will spend a lot of money on a PR company to pitch me on a story, and then I wind up posting it for free, and they get paid. Giving City has always made money for itself, to keep itself going, but it's never made me rich, and probably never will. So I've talked to them and said, how do you feel about pay to post? How about I charge you to do it? And they're like, yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why in February, there will be more opportunities for people to post to Giving City without me getting in the way. And here's the reason why I'm in the way. I also, in addition to Giving City, have a nonprofit that I run called The New Philanthropist. The New Philanthropist is something that came out of a story I did. I used to do on Giving City years ago something called The New Philanthropist because we were cheap. And I would meet 12 people who were doing amazing things, and I would want to write about them and shoot them, photography, and do a story on them. But we say shoot. But every person I would write about and shoot would cost me money because I want to pay the photographers and writers. So instead we came up with this idea, let's group them. Let's get a room, we'll get one photographer, we'll put some alcohol out because people are really shy about taking pictures, and we'll group them and get them drunk and take a bunch of pictures and then tell their short stories, right? It's a magazine trick. And so we did that. We would call this feature The New Philanthropist. I was very intentional about finding diverse group of people. So age ranged from a high schooler to an 80-year-old woman, African American, Asian, trying to really get out of the whole white lady thing. And so with that, it evolved to, these people started being asked, they thought it was an award. Well, it's not really an award. They started being asked to serve on boards and started being asked to be here. And just, they were getting this recognition that gave them a lot of visibility. And so we really, a co-founder and I said, we need to be more intentional about this. I'm Mexican-American, and so is he. We have a lot of friends who realize that according to the Green Lights Mission Capital study, there's only about 12% of board members are of color. And so we, last year in March, became a 501c3 officially, but we'd actually been working on this for about 5 years. And we organize events to recruit people of color who want to be on boards. St. Davis Foundation gave us an amazing grant to create a database. This database goal was to have 100 people of color who told us, yes, I want to be on a board, and I want to tell you where I went to school, what my income is, what I care about, where I live. I mean, it was a lot of private information. And we had a goal to have 100 by last October, and in December we hit 435.
Whoa.
Great.
So the response has been great. We've also put nonprofits through this assessment. This is what this was. We had 90 nonprofits come out to hear about how they can get ready for more diversity and inclusion on their board. And we put 12 of them through this assessment, working with different partners, to determine their readiness and get them on the path. Our theory is that boards are built on relationships. So many people don't have relationships with people of other colors. So we are assessing, training, and preparing the nonprofit boards, and assessing, training, and preparing people of color. And at some point, we'll do placements. Nonprofits are really dying to give us $1,500 for 3 names. But that's not how we work. So we're having to train the sector in, this can't happen overnight. If we're going to place someone, it's going to be a good fit, and this is the work that has to be done for that to be a good fit. So that's my nonprofit that I have on the side. In addition to that, I have clients. In the past year, mostly I've been working at UFCU as a contractor, helping them with their community affairs. Before that, I built the mayor's website, mayoradler.com, which was a lesson. I know how to build a WordPress site pretty easily. They also wanted it to kind of communicate this is when he first became mayor, his agenda. So when I joined them and sat in the mayor's office, which was a whole interesting other thing, I said, okay, I've created this structure for you. Let's list like 10 things that people can explore, and you put your agenda on. Well, they didn't know what that was. Sometimes the communications framework can force people into thinking how they want to think about what it is that we do. What should be on the homepage? What do you guys care about the most? What do you want people to know the most? Well, we don't know. Well, I can't finish your site until I know how your organization is structured, what you care about, what are your 10 biggest issues, things like that. The other thing I learned was I created this pretty robust WordPress site for them, and no one in the office knew how to use it. If you go to mayoradler.com right now, it is the simplest, jankiest blog from the 80s that you've ever seen. And I had to do it that way and un-engineer it because absolutely no one could use what I built for them. So if you look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I made it, but that's not how I do, that's not me. So I felt bad about that. One of the other things that Giving City has done successfully, analog and offline, and I'm sorry this isn't more about technology, but I have relied on technology to build Giving City to what it is events. Most online media companies, like Texas Tribune, which was built after Giving City, but when Giving City was built, nobody was doing this. I would have to explain over and over to people what it was. So what is it? Is it a magazine? Well, no, not really. It's online. Is it a blog? Well, kind of, but it's a little more robust than a blog. It just took years and years and years. Finally, when Texas Tribune and some of these other sites started coming up, Culture Map and things, people got it. But in the meantime, the nonprofits love to get together. And so I used to have these happy hours every month and do these things once a week or whatever. One of the topics that I had a happy hour on was how to do better fundraising events. And when I had a panel of about 5 people who did fundraising events, including like Michael Barnes and the man who puts together the Dell Children's Gala and things like that, it filled the room. I had to have that thing 2 times. So that signaled me, and I said, I want to do a half-day conference on this. And I just put it out there. I'm doing something called Art of the Gala. It's going to be about better fundraising events. St. David's Foundation, these 2 women there who are kind of friends of mine said, we wanted to do that too, let's do it together. And I worked with Austin Social Planner and a couple of other organizations. We went to 4 Seasons and we said, would you be willing to host this? We're going to bring you, we aim for 100 nonprofits that were planning a gala. And all these event planners are going to be here. And it's going to be so cool. And the guy was like, yeah, why didn't I think of this? This is a brilliant idea. So they comped everything for us, AV, food, everything. Wow. We brought in 100 people. It was very successful. We charged about $35 and everyone said, you need to charge more. The next year, the Hyatt wanted to do it, so we did it at the Hyatt. And that was really fun. They also comped everything for us and just thought it was fantastic. We had 150 people at that one. This past year in October, I sold it. I sold Art of the Gala off. I still had to participate because everyone knew the business goodwill, everyone knew it was Giving Cities. She couldn't do it on her own. But we expanded it to a full day, rather, and had 250 people there and did it at the JW. So this is the woman I sold it to, Jennifer. This is our host committee. It was just bigger than what I could have done by myself. We'll do it one more time together in October, and then I'm out. But things like that, don't exist anywhere else in the country. And it's not because I'm a genius. In some ways it feels like I'm a sucker, because I have always done it kind of in my spare time. I also have 2 children, and one of them is having her science fair tonight, which we already know she's advancing to the Austin Regional Science Fair, so it's okay. But she did it on holographic nails. Do you guys get your nails done, gel nails? You get gel nails?
Gel,
Yes.
but, yeah.
So she learned all about polymers
Wow.
for gel nails, and I'm very proud of her. She's 10, so she, yeah, so we have a gel, if you all want to get your gel nails done, come to my house, I'll do it for you. But all we can do is hollow. So, yeah, she's adorable. So, I'll show you a picture of her, because it's fun. There she is,
Yay.
in front of her board. She also is in the Garfield. Anyway, I'm missing them today. It's called Hollow Magic, but mostly science, and there's all her nail stuff.
Wow.
We had a great time. So I definitely want to make this a conversation, but I wanted to let you know what Giving City was all about, or what we're up to. We continue to do events. We have a lunch series that comes up the first Tuesday of every month, February, March, and April. They're at 3 different locations. I totally invite you to attend those. We get a lot of, those are going to be catered to about board management.
Mm-hmm.
So we're aiming to get a lot of executive director level people at those. In addition to that, like I said, we'll do probably Art of the Gala for sure in October, and then one other big event in the summer that we're still working on and planning. But I'm also planning on hiring more people to do Giving City. So now as Giving City starts to make more money, and using it more, not just to pay for all the bills of running a site, but also hiring people. So it continues to make other people money, but not me money, which is fine. And I invite you guys to participate in any way. We have about 5,500 followers on Facebook and on Twitter. We have a LinkedIn group with about 450 professionals called Giving City for Professionals. That can be kind of robust. And the site's kind of all over the place. I also invite you to pitch me stories, and they don't have to be in a press release. You can say, hey Monica, I heard this is really cool, here's a picture, and I'm happy to consider those stories.
Are they always just focused sort of Central Texas?
Yes.
That's got to be.
Yeah, Central Texas, and I try to not do big check stories. Those are,
Right.
community news type things. Typically, if your PR person thinks we should get a press release around this, or if the other signal is if your board member says, you need to send a press release about this, that's your other signal that it's probably not worth news. They think there should be a press release for everything, and I can totally smell them when they happen. I've been doing this for 12 years. I get all the press releases. You can tell when it's a bad story idea. But I'm always looking, I have a couple of writers for me now, always looking for things that illuminate how nonprofits work for people. We're still very much about donor education, and my muse is still very much those young lawyers who are trying to figure out how the nonprofit sector works and where they can fit in.
I would just say from being around for more years than I care to mention, but the big plenary speeches and such that I've seen and the conferences I've been at, the donor advice funds are a big topic for both, how do you even start cultivating people philanthropists who
put their money
bailed
away and then don't
and they've
ever,
gone to Fidelity,
yes.
and so it's like you need to cultivate them, but you really have somebody else to cultivate too at the company that's managing those funds, and DAF Direct and all that. That whole thing has thrown all of us.
It's really bad.
A lot of people hate them.
I wrote about it too because you can see, I worked at the Community Foundation, which is where DAFs originated,
Right.
Donor Advice Funds originated. And my job is to get more people to open them. When people didn't want to open them, they thought, why would I open that? It's just going to sit there. Should my money go to work at a nonprofit rather than just sit in these savings accounts?
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, do that instead. Fidelity, of course, says absolutely not. We'll be stewards of your money and we'll take care of it. But I did a story about it a couple of years ago, maybe 10 months ago. The Community Foundation says of the donor advice funds they have, 11% is donated out. Fidelity claims about that a little less. So when you think about the $100 million at Austin Community Foundation alone, which is kind of a small, janky community foundation, most of it just sitting there, earning interest and all that stuff. And I'll tell you, being inside a community foundation, people forget that they have that money there.
Wow.
A lot of our job too is to remind them, hey, these are some causes you might care about. So there's a whole staff, and back in the day when I was there 10 years ago, we would actually create binders. So if you started one and you said, I really care about animals and sweaters for animals, anytime a grant application would come in saying, I need money for sweaters for animals, we'd send it to you, and you'd go, they're asking for 1,000, I'll give them 500, you know. Then we had a couple of powerful people. I don't know if you guys remember a woman named Mary Ben Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
And I could see Mary Ben Ramsey. She'd pick up the phone and say, Bob, yeah, we're gonna need 50,000. No, Bob, like today. Bob, don't mess with me, Bob. Just give me that 50,000.
You
Okay,
can
thanks.
see her now.
$50,000. So a lot of the community foundation relied on that person who could call up Bob and say, when it's at Fidelity, there's no person and there's no motivation for anyone to give that money away. So it's a big problem. And I have friends who opened a DAF at Fidelity, and we're a little more engaged in the community and have kind of forgotten about it.
Well, if you don't know much about it, when they do the list of the biggest recipients of charitable donations every year, and United Ways, Fidelity was the one who got the most donations.
Yeah.
Which means basically that didn't necessarily go to nonprofits, that went to their investment house, which is meant to then.
I'll show you. I have that data. Fidelity is not only
It was like.
Fidelity. Let's see. So here's a lot of interesting things, and I'm not going to get it quite right, but I'll tell you that Fidelity comes after United Way the past 2 years as the biggest charity in America. Now this is Fidelity Foundation or Fidelity Charitable.
Right, charitable.
After United Way, before American Red Cross, before Big Brothers Big Sisters, before all that other stuff.
It's kind of scary.
The other thing that's really interesting, that is a trend that I talk about in my speeches too. Like I talked to the Women's Giving Circle in Georgetown, for example, recently, and talked to them about why people give. No, did I not spell Fidelity right? Is GoFundMe.
Yes.
So we hear all the time that of people starting GoFundMe accounts. GoFundMe has become, it's in there. GoFundMe has become a giant charity as well. GoFundMe is not, now, unlike Fidelity, GoFundMe not only receives more money in the top 5 biggest nonprofits, even though it's not a nonprofit, it also is one of the biggest foundations, which it's not a foundation, but it gives more money away than 99% of the foundations in the country. And one of the reasons I bring it up is because there's another trend in nonprofits to report on data. We want to know outcomes and data. And to me, that's always been like you're not close, you don't care if you want to see. Data is the way that you prove to your boss that this is why you're giving to them. It's not really because you're engaged with that organization. Search results for GoFundMe. Well, it's going to come up with everything. People say that they only want to give to a nonprofit that they trust. We don't trust American Red Cross, all that stuff written about them, and they're just using money badly, and then pizzas get delivered and nobody picks them up, and all this malfeasance happening all over the place. But there's 2 examples that I give. One is GoFundMe. GoFundMe, you have no idea where that money goes. It's all just on your heartstrings. These people who are asking for their pet's surgery aren't giving you data, and yet
They're getting money.
they're getting a lot of money to make them one of the biggest receivers of donations in the country.
It's like child charities is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of.
It's kind of like there's no, on the other hand, if we're looking at how donors are so motivated by transparency and expertise and proof, during Hurricane Harvey, we had a football player who, the New York Times wrote a glowing piece about J.J. Watt and how he and his mother run this foundation that was created to give sports equipment to after-school programs. Raised $36 million, and there's a quote from the mother saying, we have no idea how to do disaster recovery. I mean, that's almost the exact verbatim quote. And never did the New York Times signal anything like when you see most nonprofits written about, unlike when you see businesses written about. When you see most, by the way, there's always some disclaimer at the end, always investigate every nonprofit on Charity Watch or something before you give any money. Never did that come up with J.J. Watt, who was very transparent about, we have no idea what we're doing. So you see people looking at the American Red Cross, who does it all over the world and has been doing it for 100 years. Oh, no, I don't trust them. But I'm going to give my money to this lady who said she didn't know what she's doing in the New York Times.
Yeah.
We got Jimmy Fallon sending $1 million to this football player and his mom. Pea brains. They don't know what they're doing. So this is your opportunity as a I mean, the reason this is so interesting to me is because I meet with people all the time, and there's these trends in giving. The other one, there's a book that I'm reading right now, and I'm going to speak to ACC's leadership class, called Winners Take All, the elite's charade of philanthropy or something like that. And the whole premise that there is a win-win for giant corporations to give back, right? And how so many of these corporations that say they want to solve these world problems are actually the reason why we have these worldwide problems. And they don't confront that. They don't confront that for a number of reasons. One, because then they want to protect their own mechanisms to wealth. And also, it sounds really hard. And that would mean changing myself, and we don't really want to do that. He also explains, that's how people explain to themselves why we should go do charity in Africa, because it allows you to have that giving experience without confronting your own systems that contribute to your wealth that you don't want to change because it benefits you. So it's an amazing book, of course. It's fantastic, and you're just like, yes, that's so true when you're reading it. And so the next step that I'm going to talk to them about is, okay, so now what do we do? So especially in Austin, right, we see so many people who say, oh, I want to give back, and these giant companies. And I will say, to their credit, that the tech companies here in Austin have been very transparent that they don't give a shit. So,
Such honesty is refreshing.
a couple of years ago, I used to be a part of Austin Monitor, which is the daily site, right? So Austin Monitor and I put on during Startup Week, how do technologies, how will they engage in the community in the future? They had just lost the Uber vote, and Uber got kicked out of Austin, right? And the technology companies thought, well, we have such a huge sector in the tech sector, of course we're going to win this. And Uber threw tons of money on. This is when I was working in the mayor's office, and it was harassment. I mean, I'm sitting there, the phone's ringing every minute from somebody calling. Uber put something on their app, automated call, harassing the office all the time. So Uber lost, and the tech companies were like, what the hell just happened? Nobody in the tech sector voted. They are completely disengaged. They had no idea. So they're recording this, right? That's okay. I said this in front of people. There's the Austin Tech Council and then another one I can't remember. And they sat up there, Barbary Brunner and this guy, Jeremiah, what's his name? Joshua Bear, and Mayor Adler and me and the publisher of Boston Monitor at the time. And Mayor Adler gave him a little talking to. He was like, you guys need to learn how the city works and how the system works, and coming in here and trying to bully your way. And when they were asked, what's your plan going forward, they were like, well, we're figuring that out, we're not sure, we don't know. But this was a couple of years ago. I have to say, I haven't seen a whole lot of progress, and I try to watch and give them the benefit of the doubt. But I just am not seeing them being part of the philanthropic sector much at all. Definitely not as much as they could. And I think it comes from having a transient population. They're here for the job, and then they're also maybe a little younger, and so they haven't had kids, which makes them look around and go, oh crap, there's a lot to fix around here, right? So they haven't had that experience yet. There's a culture that keeps them in a bubble. We went and spoke at Indeed to their group of they have a really beautiful campus there on 22. Have you guys been there? With the cafeteria that's like the Love Boat. Oh my God! And when I went there, I couldn't find a parking space. And they have a huge garage, and everything was full. What do you do? Finally, I think I parked in the class, honestly. And so I went in, and as I'm talking to them, oh, we're so sorry, you can valet. Just pull up to the front, and a valet will take your car and park it on the roof.
Oh, God.
Well, that seems a little spoiled. And, you know, I worked at drcoop.com, which back in the day was really super spoiled. They had a helicopter on the roof, which we didn't, you know, start up at the time. So then as I'm talking to them about the cafeteria and how beautiful it is, and oh my gosh, how parking must be such a pain for you. And she says, actually, I don't even valet. They give us a Lyft voucher. So a Lyft voucher picks me up at my house, drives me to work, I get all my meals here, and then it takes me home. Talk about a bubble. No idea.
There's some with living allowances, like they're paying rent.
Yeah, she said when she has to go to
Like
Whole
up to $4,000.
when she has to go to Whole Foods on Saturdays, she said, I look
It's
around and
serious.
say, why should I have to pay for this?
Wow.
When
She's
we're
so
saying,
used to
"Why do you
just
have
like
pay this much?"
scooping in, right? She's so used to just, it's free. I take whatever I want. So to me, these are the things that I like. They keep giving City going because I'm so anxious about these things happening in our community, and they give me such anxiety. This is why I try to always find new audiences for Giving City, because inevitably, I'll tell you, there's been times I've written about the women's shelter for the Statesman, and I'll see someone who tells me, I had no idea we had a women's shelter
Yeah,
in
okay.
Austin.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for not me to give them that look of, are you being serious?
Yeah.
You know? So there's just, the fight is on for nonprofits to just have awareness, you know? To just have people be aware that this sector exists and the work that we're doing. And that's what I feel like I'm trying to be a champion for nonprofits, that they exist and that they're doing good work and that they do collaborate and that, you know, there's an opportunity for you to plug in, but it's going to take a little bit of work.
You know, this is an aside, a brainstorm for the future, but Apple, you know, I haven't heard about it for a while, but they were picking underdeveloped neighborhoods and taking them over and renovating them and making them very cool. And
For who?
for, you know, the
Their
cities.
employees?
No,
Oh.
for the public.
Okay.
And they were an attempt to revitalize failing neighborhoods. And I put it out there, and of course never heard it back, but that I really wish they would take over 6th Street. And I'm in touch with some musicians as well, but you know, it's just such a crying shame having seen 6th Street for 30 years, basically, and trying to walk on it and just
Be
how
careful what you wish
dangerous.
for. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
I was like, can I have a Barnes
No,
and
being
Noble down
a
here?
musician for 42 years and being here for 32,
Mhm.
you get the people that go, oh, this is so cool, I'm going to move here. And then they move here and they want to be right by 6th Street.
Yeah.
And then they call the cops because there's music.
Oh, I
And
know.
so now you can't get a gig downtown, not that you want one anymore because it's such a
Yes.
bad place to be.
It is scary.
But you can't because people are calling the cops because of a noise ordinance, you know?
Yeah.
And even back in the early 90s when they had the cops with their little Radio Shack dB meters checking to see if you were too loud so they'd give you a ticket. I mean, you know, you just have to watch what you, and it all started with Aurelia, which when I first moved here, used to be a painter. And I paint that place and like, ooh, I want to live here.
I
Boom,
just
and
want,
next thing you
you
know,
know, I just see
next- yeah.
2nd Street like they're trying to grow it and everything, but you know, 6th Street is like right in the middle of all of
Yeah.
it.
yeah, well, the other thing,
Traffic and people coming in and going, and it would be so great if you could go to, I could go to Microsoft store, the Apple store, Barnes and Noble, you know, a few things in there, and then, you know, safer music venues that were not so grungy.
well,
you
the
know,
other thing you
but-
don't do is put a homeless shelter a block away from
Right.
the
Right.
attraction.
That
you know?
is really.
And pardon my French, but you know shit we eat, you know?
Well, that's there
exactly
because
what
that's
they do.
where homeless people were, is that area. Now they're
Well,
moving
they
farther
were-
out.
They were a little bit more spread out at the time, and then they started the ARC, and everybody was complaining about it because you're gonna concentrate everybody in this place
Right.
where there's a tourist.
It is.
And the
really
reason
tough.
is everybody's there is because the ARC is there. Now, before the ARC was there, the homeless people were more spread out. And you didn't have that problem as much. What you had a problem with was, the Mexican gangs who took over, and then after that, about as a mental game in a lot of ways, but at least they cleaned it up.
I came down here to a conference in the Omni, and I thought, I'm not gonna have conference here, I'm gonna go down, because I like Arlo's vegetarian burgers, so on Red River. So I go wandering down there, and I get my sweet potato fries, I'm like so thrilled, and the veggie burger. And I'm like supporting the homeless and working the streets, I mean, I'm like really a huge advocate for all that. So I'm sitting there, and a very angry homeless woman comes up and says, "Can I have your fries?" I said, "Well, no," kind of timidly.
Yeah.
She grabbed them like that, and the staff at Arlo's was like, "Oh shit!" So they gave me my order back, but it was kind of terrifying because she was then mad that I turned her down, that she couldn't have the fries, so she just took them anyway. And she was mentally ill and hungry, and
Yeah, I mean, I've done that to my children.
But you.
Are you gonna eat that?
We have to, Austin, the city of Austin, I just wish they would work on 6th Street. But here's another one. I know Jackie Beretta, who developed, Texas Nonprofits website down in San Antonio, but really she's trying to cover the whole state.
Yes.
But it seemed to me that you all would be
I know Jackie.
partners in maybe, because she told me years ago she wanted to actually even move to Austin. She was really looking at that. And so I know that they keep their eye on it. And
Well, one of the things I'm trying to do, and Jackie also pays to post, with online media sites, I've often been referred, because I've been doing it for 12 years, to why don't you call this person and talk to them? Why don't you see how they do it? Nobody, it's such an isolating thing to run an online media site. And the margins are extremely low. Even those that are doing well, that we see with content and staff and things like that. Most publications, in general, because I originated in magazines, run on very low margins. And if they don't, it's because they have a publisher who abuses their staff. And that's very true of here in Austin. I've freelance written for just about every print publication here in Austin. And I don't know if any of you are freelance writers, but I've been a freelance writer for about 25 years, and it's still about the same rate. Austin Business Journal will pay you $150 for a 1,500-word profile. That probably takes me 10 hours to do.
Wow.
To this day, the Statesman pays me. I'm basically giving my charitable donation to the Statesman to keep it local. It pays nothing, and that hasn't changed in 25 years. So that's how they make money, is they don't pay people anything.
Right.
The other way is just through sponsored posts, selling a lot of ads, pay to post. For years I didn't play that because I wanted it to have some integrity. I paid people, I paid them a lot, and didn't pay myself. And that's been a problem. The other part of the problem is when I have talked to other organizations about purchasing Giving City, if you ever start a business, know this, if you want to sell it, don't make it about you. So much of it is Monica Williams. And Monica Williams does so much. So to replace me, I don't mean to be self-serving. I've dug myself in a hole. To replace me, it needs to be someone who can write, who can go on TV, who can manage a WordPress site, who can manage social media, who can sell advertisements. There's 3 people. That's 3 or 4 people. 3 or 4 dummies, frankly. All over one big dum-dum. So I've kind of put myself in a hole of, because the person who didn't want to purchase Giving City said, yeah, I'll purchase Giving City, and then you stay on to do it, and I don't want to do it anymore. So
have you, we have one group, I really like one company I really like working with is Google. And they have this new news initiative. Have you read about that? This is brand new, and they're developing a platform for that. And I just wonder if you could somehow, because really Google is like, how much more search? That's it. That's the search.
I agree. I mean, like I said, maybe in 12 years I'm just jaded. I'm old. Well, in their eyes I'm old. I'm not a shiny thing. And as Jeff Garvey, who used to be the CEO of Community Foundation, but he is the founder of Austin Ventures. As Jeff Garvey said to me one time, investors like me want bicycle kit, and you already have the bicycle built. So that's less, they want to see themselves in it and want it to be in themselves. And so it's one of those things where, because of me and because it's kind of run on me, there's an emotional thing about it. No one wants to really be a part of it, because, oh, well, that's your thing. Oh, my own thing. And it's been interesting. I will say, before I got the job at Austin Community Foundation, where they said, we'll pay you to do this and be our communications director, I was a B2B copywriter for room scheduling software. And it sucked. And it was lame, and it was one of those not fulfilling jobs. I consistently wrote lies about the product. So it was depressing. And since Giving City, it's completely changed my life. I've had, really amazing jobs that I never would have opportunities to. I got to go through Leadership Austin. I've won a few awards from the community. I get to be on TV, though nobody cares about that anymore. I go on TV, and my children were home for MLK Day, and I was on for MLK, and I said, I came home, did you watch me? Oh, is that today?
Yeah.
They don't care anymore. I take them to the studio, she's like excited, I say, you guys want to come with me to the studio? It's too early.
Yeah.
The thrill is gone. Nobody even reads my statement. My husband doesn't even read my statesman column anymore. He's like, oh, yeah, I think I saw it. What was it about? So it needs new blood. And
Well, I emailed
any
you that Google
takers?
link.
I know, I make it sound so awesome. And then I'll do it.
I think you need to talk to Jackie, you never know, too. Ask her.
I'll send her an email.
And I sent you this Google link, and I
Okay.
have two people who've been so nice to me personally and to the nonprofit tech club in NTEN that I could send information to them. I bet their employees very much care about social good stuff. So if they had a chance, they
We're
might.
still pretty small. I mean, I will say, I went to a Media Tech Adventures meeting here upstairs last month. And these are people who have a whole room full of people that just write about a game. They're a fan club for one video game, and I couldn't tell you what the hell it was. Online, is it an Xbox? I have no idea. But she had a staff of people, and all they write about is this one game. A billion hits a month. I mean, it's just something like, are you serious? Like, it's ridiculous numbers. We're looking at, for Giving City, 12,000 users a month, on average. December's bigger, February's, but on average it's 12,000. But I will say, the people I get are exactly the people that my advertisers want.
Exactly.
We don't need the riffraff. We need people who can come and make the decisions about, are we going to purchase this? I mean, NetSquared has been thrilled, and you'll see it, you'll hear it when we're talking. Because even though we launched the product last night, we had 20 people that were like, can I get a demo tonight?
Yes.
And they had to, they didn't plan on doing it, they were ready to go. So,
Well, we, in our orbit, we always are in touch with new companies coming up, wanting to just get the message out, and so there's probably some good advertisers, and their Upbring is coming in April, for instance, and they're new housed here. That's the former Lutheran Social Services.
yeah, Upbring and I don't get along.
Oh, you don't?
No, because I wrote about them. Texas is divided into 11 sectors for giving away for housing foster children. When you take children from their home, they have to go into some house. We need more foster families here in Austin. That's Upbring's role, right?
Yeah.
So Upbring is the big one here in the Austin area. And in writing about this problem, one of the things I found out that Upbring was trying to do is recruit more Spanish-speaking families to do it. I'm Mexican, we take in everybody. This is our thing. Plus, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking children being put in non-Spanish-speaking homes. Why is that okay? We would no sooner put a white child in a Spanish-speaking home, but we're comfortable doing it the other way. And as a result, we're putting children in homes where the culture, the food, the language is totally different from what they're used to, and sending them to other states. So they had this big effort to recruit more Spanish-speaking families. The first time they went out to some community fair, they got 5 families that said, of course, I will do it. When you sign up to be a foster family, you have to do a required in-person training.
Sure.
A couple of them. Of the 11 different areas of Texas, Austin was the only one that did not offer these trainings in Spanish.
Oh, no.
And when I interviewed this woman and said, why don't you offer this training in Spanish? And that's why you don't have Spanish-speaking families that are signed up. And she said, we don't think about language. And as soon as she said that, I could hear her voice saying, oh crap, we do. Just English. So I was like, this is what she said. And so they don't like to talk to me.
Well, you have to change them.
Well, that changed them. I mean, that's a lot of that's why the journalism part of this is so fun, because I've written about them. The Meals on Wheels doesn't serve vegetarian meals. There's a whole series of elderly Asian people who aren't being served. And I love Meals on Wheels. And I have good relationships with PR and the executive director, the new executive director, and the staff. But when I said to them, why don't you serve it? Well, we polled the people that we serve, and they don't want vegetarian meals, so. Well, you're polling the people that you serve. It's a circle.
Right.
If I polled you guys and said, are you guys interested in nonprofit technology? Yes. Well, let's see. They didn't, and so it's another one of those cases when they said it, they heard themselves what they said, and they basically said the Asian American Cultural Center needs to just make their own little mini Wheels on Wheels.
Wow.
And so when you think about when people say there's way too many nonprofits in town, the thing that I found in 12 years of reporting is that nonprofits start because bigger nonprofits aren't fulfilling the needs of smaller communities.
Yeah, I think so. I've seen that.
And that happens a lot because of culture and language and skin color and you name it, neighborhood. You know, I have people tell me Boys and Girls Club put their Boys and Girls Club on the other side of the tracks from the high school. So the high school kids don't walk through there. They don't want to go there. They know it's dangerous to go through there to get to the Boys and Girls Club. So as a result, they don't go. So another nonprofit, church-based, started at the school so kids would have a place to go. And people are like, why are you creating these redundant services?
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club has no idea that the kids don't want to walk through this neighborhood because they don't have a relationship with the people in that neighborhood. So I find this over and over and over again. And that's, it's fascinating. I talk too much. I'm so sorry.
Now, you mentioned you're working, is it United Heritage Credit Union?
University Federal Credit.
University Federal, okay.
Which is a nonprofit.
We're talking to Hello Fund, which is United Heritage Credit Union, is one of the partners, Whataburger, there's several of them.
Okay.
It's UT, it's it's some kind of an online giving platform, so we hope maybe this summer we'll
Good.
hear from them, but, there's several.
Well,
There's a lot, and they're, they all kind of want to be in the capital faculty orbit. But, I sent you the next after overview,
Okay.
which I'm sure it's in a huge stack, but I've sent it to Mission Capital and the Association of Fundraising Professionals, best online giving analysis breakdown, how to do it conference. I haven't seen it.
Okay, cool.
So
Okay.
I don't know if I can get it flying in
Yeah.
Austin, but it's not your,
So you're looking for partners to make it happen in
well,
Austin?
yeah, it's not, it's gonna charge to register, but they're trying to keep it low. They love the idea of hosting it here, but,
Oh, that's
we're
right,
all
you sent that to me.
volunteer.
Okay, I saw.
I'm one volunteer,
Yeah,
so I can't do it all, but I have seen it and it's truly amazing and really right on, and just
Okay.
how it works and what the boomers are doing, how they react and how the millennials react and how you can say,
What do I get out of
market, and how you
I'm gonna need to see some cash.
online. Hey,
Do I get a cut? Well, you turn from
Might.
like this journalist, nonprofit person to all of a sudden I'm this business person now, and I
Yeah.
need to pay other people. So.
I
But I appreciate you guys hosting me and getting to talk to you. I did intend to hear more from you guys. I have like I said, a luncheon every month, the first Tuesday of the month, and we try to spend a lot of time learning from each other. There's a lot of knowledge in the
Great.
so.
Well, it just, we have a Facebook group page,
Okay.
and so we could put it on there and just say, hey, here it is,
I didn't find out what you did. You came late.
I did.
What did you do?
Apologize. Hi, my name is Michelle Goodwine. Actually, I'm a business owner as well as a nonprofit founder.
Okay.
So I have actually two businesses. One of my businesses is Diversity Advice Consultants.
Oh, awesome.
And basically what that business does is help businesses, nonprofits, government agencies, make sure that Me Too doesn't become them also. So in regards to training, investigations, and consulting for sexual harassment prevention and anti-discrimination. So
That
that's what that
motivates a lot of
business
our new philanthropist clients too.
does. Yes,
Don't get your,
I hear you.
don't
I hear
get
you.
stuck in the door.
Yeah, so that's what that business does. And then also, my other business actually that just came out of the need in terms of some clients is I'm upstarting again. Let me just say this before I should have prefaced it. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business at 9 years old. It was a custom theme cake decorating business that started. So I've owned several businesses, including a human resource consulting firm that I owned for 10 years in New York. So I'm from New York. So the other business is Good Wine Multimedia Marketing. My name is Michelle Goodwine. And I'm starting that to focus on supplier diversity and marketing, and also to partner with my daughter, who I'm trying to make as an entrepreneur. With her, she has a web design company that she started 2 years ago. And then my nonprofit is called Love is Kind Empowerment Services. Basically, the premise is to focus on helping domestic violence victims become victorious survivors in terms of providing professional and entrepreneurial opportunities for them.
Awesome.
So that's what I.
Cool. That's just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I won't tell you about more, but that's enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for speaking. Thanks, NTEN
I will
and
say-
NetSquared for being our co-hosts, and Capital Factory for hosting and doing that for the sake of recording. That's all right. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. Well, actually,
You say from
I have very few
my
cards.
perspective, I guess different than your perspective.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Actually, I might not have the credit.
It's refreshing to see someone who's
We
actually
have one more
been
left.
doing it, been getting funds, been talking to people, been meeting people.
Oh, really?
Knowing what's going on in the nonprofit world,
Oh, good.
where I'm still,
Oh.
been a musician all my life,
Oh,
worked
good.
in tech for 20 years, but musicians, you say, well, you gotta pay your
Oh,
dues.
so
You
you
gotta
travel
pay your
around
dues.
the country.
I've been a professional musician for over 40 years. So I'm like, you're gonna throw spaghetti at the wall. How long are you gonna throw spaghetti at the wall? You know, and so by knowing that I've done this, I'm trying to figure out a smarter way. You realize you're not gonna be able to do it from the study in your house, and that's what you do.
You do have to get out.
Oh,
I mean, I
yeah.
will say that with new philanthropists,
Oh, yeah.
like I said, we've been talking about it for 5 years before.
Well, yeah, I think
The funders that we had in the beginning,
it's really a great place to live.
St. David's Foundation, Bank of America, are wonderful.
Oh, really?
They're not the organization.
Yeah.
It's Lisa
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really.
and Sam. And I have just known those women for a really long time. And,
Oh, thanks
you
for
know,
coming.
it's definitely who you know, but like Nikki, I saw her, I met her in the event, and we had connected, and our people kind of
Yes.
She's got along.
I really do. I wouldn't tell you. Oh.
And
But I
then
heard more.
she's
One thing that actually,
president of.
Sure.
that came to me this Tuesday, and I have
I'm
seen other shows,
so
but
sorry, I didn't speak to you like you were a regular person. I had no
just put it this
idea.
way, I'm really concerned in terms of what's going on in the country and in terms of the federal shutdown.
And I
I
think,
know some people who work for the
you know,
federal
for me,
government,
I don't know.
family, and it's really, really impacting them.
But
I think I'm also very short.
I don't think about the asset like the fundraising, that's definitely a part of it.
It's like, oh, it's
But
not,
I just
oh, we
have
can't wait until then.
Friends
So I actually
who I
created an event
enjoy,
called
people that
International
have,
Day of Prayer,
you know,
for the US,
personally.
as I call it.
And there's people that I know who have
And
the
I'm
same
gonna actually
feelings
go
about the
back to
school
school
as I
today.
do. So when I'm
Well,
giving
I'm
them
a
the mechanism
minister too.
and
That's
the
why I said,
structure
yeah.
to support
I have a
access
friend
to
who
that
needs
funding,
to read about
Really?
she's
what
gonna,
you do.
and she's gonna help me out. But, you know,
Oh, that's
sometimes my
great.
husband
It's
is excited and
international. I
says,
really need.
I just go out and just talk to people and go to these events and choose people and that's work, man. I would much rather stay home, so,
Oh,
and
really?
enjoy the family and
Oh,
have, you
wow.
know,
Okay.
pizza and definitely watch Netflix.
Oh,
I would force myself out to go out there, but there was a
yeah.
real time.
Contact information.
And I definitely,
No, I'm not there.
I like to talk to people, but talking to her people is.
Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm really good with
So,
tracking people down.
out-of-pocket people.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10,
Oh.
that,
Yeah.
Priceless.
I said, oh, yes,
I went to work with them at one point.
what reward firm
Yeah.
is focusing on individual, and like, individual, whether they have funds or not, they're a fundraiser, fund giver,
You're doing it.
but it's something that I like, eventually people find something.
Oh.
If they're, if they have this, they're better.
My time is
But
up.
I'm certain that would be friends.
I've got a few more minutes.
So I'm thinking,
That's just, I was there. Okay, nice to meet you. Yeah, I see it.
Which is.
Oh, okay.
I'm just.
I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Set up maybe just
Oh.
lunch and breakfast.
Okay.
Just get to know her and.
It's not a big,
Okay.
I'm not really great with rejection, and so, yeah, again, doing the same thing.
Oh, my goodness, you were here
Yeah,
early.
I'll help you clean up. That's
No,
my husband. No, I'm coming to school.
You know, it's not three of class, I mean, Jack, we're talking about us, a little higher professional. So, yeah, I get it, you know, and I
How's
also
the
get the,
homeless, which is one guy,
nonprofits
Richard
want to
Trucks.
make everything free. It's like,
Oh,
nice.
they laminated
You're
it?
sitting there trying to
Yeah,
sell me
so
something.
it doesn't get trashed out.
Yeah.
I've made, I've got a budget of
Oh, wow.
And it's, what do you do with a big brochure, it just gets a lot of.
Yeah.
in five classes, and I'm
Put it
putting in
somewhere
13,000
safe.
years. So you tell me, I said, show me how to get it done so that I can make the money to pay you, and I will finish this off, you know? I'm not, I'm not.
Just keep in touch now, next time, we have to get together.
I know, my husband just got here first.
We go back a long way. We reconnected, but my husband just got in. He's down in Florida getting furniture. That is it.
Well, I was just, I didn't know my grandfather, and he brought my brothers to New York when they were.
So you're the lady that his background is making all the spreadsheets. So many people in the nonprofit world, they're kind of liberal.
Right.
They need someone.
I know, I'm a valuable commodity, I know you are.
I used to run back and forth with this woman in Canada. I was and so it was just me
And that's
running
where I am
everything.
right now, trying to get people to understand. It's coming from me.
Yeah,
I'm
and
able to
so,
bottle that.
You know, I would have given anything for someone that
I
would
got
come.
minimal board until
Right.
we
I
drop
did.
out, start trying to reach
Yeah.
out. I'm doing it.
But it's just a challenge, so many nonprofits.
And I am the fundraising guy, and I
You're
am
off the
the
staff?
course writer, and I am the
So do you work with nonprofits now too, like Karen, or what do you do?
But that's.
So, I work with small nonprofits that don't have a CFO.